Hello, poor people. How are you today? Tonight, I will explain to you what makes a good communicator. This will be direct and straight to the point, not trying to increase length in an attempt to optimize watch time hours. The first thing you need to understand is tonality. In the realm of communication, how you say things is more important than what you say. I shared a story in a recent video of how I escaped possible rustication years ago while I was in college. I went to this lady, I explained to her emotionally that I lost 5 million naira. And one of the important things about that story is that I knew this professor was a woman, which means she's attuned to her emotion and would respond to emotional arguments. That's something you also need to learn in communication. You must tailor your words to match the listener. So I communicated passionately that I just lost 5 million naira, that it's weighing on my soul. I didn't plan to write the exam. She was moved, and as a consequence, she helped until the last point till I escaped that situation completely. Tonality is something you need to pay attention to if you want to get ahead in communication. Let me give you an instance. If I say to you, give me a bottle, and give me a bottle. On one hand, I was more courteous. On the other hand, pride, which might spur all kinds of animosity. So the same thing said, different interpretation, as a consequence, different outcome. Which proves the point. It's not what you say, but how you say it. Tonality. This is not something you need to learn. I'm sure if you've gotten to this point, you ask the question, how can I learn to infuse tonality? Or how can I learn the mystery of tonality? The answer, you don't. You just become more consciously aware of what you're doing. Every single one of you, at a point in time, has tapped into this essence of tonality. Remember when you were upset and you increased your voice to communicate pain, or when you were sorrowful, you declined your pitch and you expressed yourself. The only thing I will do is to summon this talent at will to help you to get to a point where you can consciously cater to this latent talent rather. One of the steps to impute tonality in your speech is by feeling your words. Feeling your words. When you speak, feel the words. A robber came to my house, and the most interesting part of the robbery was when he pulled out a gun, and I said to him, as opposed to a robber came to my house, and the most interesting part of the story was when he pulled out the gun. No, in fact, I struggle to impersonate the average man because that impersonation is far higher than what we have, than what you do. Becoming consciously aware of how to infuse tonality in your day-to-day communication is a start. The second, which is equally as important as the first, is stories. One thing you notice, and to buttress on this point, let's reverse back to number one. If you look at the difference between lecturers and podcasters, they are both saying things that are interesting and educative, but the reason you enjoy consuming content is because on one hand, the creator is conscious of what he's saying and infuses tonality, he tells stories, he uses metaphors. So that analogy applies to number one and number two. A lecturer bores you. He or she is monotone. They're just reading from a book. Conversely, the other is an entertainer. He uses tonality. He tells stories, metaphors. In fact, a significant percentile of what I just said contains stories, metaphors, analogies, everything that insists you, on the other hand, understands the point. It's evident that even I subscribe to my own principle. So stories, analogies is a perfect way to hinge upon your points. Let me make something clear. Individuals remember stories, not spreadsheets. They remembered what you did. In fact, the whole content game still buttresses on the same points, but various stories. The whole game of success is still one outcome, but various pathways. If stories were not as important, an interview with one successful person should be enough. Why interviewing 1,000 guests to speak on the same subject? Because you're interested in their various perspectives, how this person came from the lowest echelon of society, no opportunities, no nothing, no handouts, and still became successful. The stories are equally as important. Metaphors, analogies, use it to express yourself. If you've gotten to this point, the question is, how can I tell stories? The various videos I put out on confidence, because if you're not confident, you cannot achieve what I have just said. Because the basis of a good story is tonality. And for you to be able to get to a point where you use tonality effectively, you have to be confident. Confident in your speech. Confident that when you pause, the speech will not be guided away from you. Confident to take your time, to process thoughts, to speak elegantly. So if you have no confidence, all I've said is just a waste of time. And as always, my friends, it's a pleasure speaking to you. I'll see you in the next one.